Imagine yourself hiding within a confined space, knowing that at any moment the captor will find you. Minimal lighting, surrounded by people chit-chatting about death and escape routes. The sound of a multitude of fireworks blasting at once, as trembling and vibration rushes beneath your feet. How do you feel? Heartbeat racing, breathless, sweating, anxious, closed in? Downfall places us within the confines of the Führer bunker and allows us to experience the disturbed feelings hovering within the limited space during the war. The events of World War II conveyed in the film surround the Battle of Berlin in Nazi Germany, with the Red Army rapidly approaching the capital Berlin in April 1945. Its depiction of the events and conflict are accurately displayed. I have analyzed this with reference to Kershaw's book. The key pointers in Downfall referencing the horrors of war include naive devotion to Hitler by his staff and the youth, Hitler's eventual demise, the leader of the country falling into illness, paranoia, the sense of reality at loss. The dangers of this leadership are evident. The final battle pointless. Civilians and the home front becoming a part of the combat. Hitler in the film acknowledges that there is no difference between soldiers and civilians. They are all part of the war. The last chapters of Kershaw's book align with the film in describing the last 12 days in the Führer bunker. After watching the film, the death of 50 million people seemed pointless, because nothing significant rose from National Socialism. Once Hitler died, it all died along with him. The main points from the reading that influenced my interpretation about the film include the power of loyalty and oath, and Hitler's influence over his henchmen, Hitler's delusion and paranoia, especially thinking all were against him. This was not a man fit enough to lead, especially in a war. An interesting note, in Kershaw's book, Hitler is presented with a more logical view of reality, providing encouragement and hope. On page 940, when combust had to take place, if there was to be any hope. Hitler inwardly knew, however, that this would not happen. He repeatedly bemoaned the catastrophic mistake of the Ninth Army, which he blamed for ignoring his orders. Hitler seemed to be more grounded with reality, whereas in the film the generals constantly had to comfort Hitler and bring him to reality. And the urgency of the end of the Red Army was so close to home, had my heart racing. The film's relationship to the reality of war is quite clear. It presents the historical tale of Hitler and his staff in the underground confines of the bunker, while above ground sees the city in ruins and bloodshed. Civilians alongside soldiers fight off the Red Army in the streets. Downfall accurately depicts the reality of war, battle on the home front, necessity of constant alertness and updates, confusion and fear seen through Hitler's staff in the bunker, advanced technologies and systems, large number of casualties and injured victims, betrayal and negotiations seen with Himmler, loyalty to one's nation and leader by some, until the end, such as Joseph Goebbels. A quote from the book, page 969, "The old Germany was gone with Hitler. The Germany which had produced Adolf Hitler had seen its future in his vision, had so readily served him, and had shared in his hubris, had also to share his nemesis." The themes within the film clearly correlate with the reality of war. The film plays out with an assumption that the audience have a background knowledge of the situation. The historical events in focus were the battlefront of the Battle of Berlin, while the other fronts and battles were only mentioned or discussed. The film focused on the minds behind the actions and decisions performed and delivered out on the field. The film allows us to question more than the reason for combat, but also the morals of the whole event, including those who are involved, such as the people in power, the racist ideology such as the hate on the Jews, the decision-making, and the actions in leading to the tragic consequences. It provides the viewer with an understanding for the future and leaves them with a clear image that the amount of wounded and bloodshed in the war is not a justifiable method for solving crisis on any level. To sum up the film's message, the horrors of war only lead to incoherent ideas and actions, which also lead to major loss of life. The dangers of blind loyalty and willingness to sacrifice for an intolerant, racist and fanatic ideology and leader leads only to significant disaster. The amount of wounded people and soldiers is proof enough that war is not a justifiable means of solving any problems. Propaganda and ignorance plays a large role in creating wholeness or division between people. Thus dangerous divisions may form, leading to a nation's demise. This is evident in the film where Himmler and Hitler clash on the idea of surrender, and where the young boy Peter and his father disagree about loyalty to the fatherland.